For the past 2 weeks, we have been looking at the evolution of computers and the key contributors to it. If you're yet to see it, don't worry, I gotcha. Just check our YouTube page and search for the history of computer under the Science and Innovation History playlist. Today, I want you to imagine a world without instant music, breaking news updates or late night talks, a world where communication across oceans took weeks. That was the world before radio. Our story today begins in the 19th century. A Scottish scientist, James Clerk Maxwell, predicted something extraordinary, invisible waves that could travel through the air. And a few decades later, Heinrich Hertz proved Maxwell right. He built an experiment that generated and detected these radio waves. At the time, Hertz himself shrugged the idea because he didn't see much use of it, but others did. Now, Guglielmo Marconi came into the spotlight in the 1890s with determination and a bit of luck. He turned theory into practice. Those theories, made them practice. And so by 1901, Marconi had sent the first wireless signal across the Atlantic. No wires, just air, but Marconi wasn't alone. He did this work with Nikola Tesla and Alexander Popov, who were also experimenting with him. And in 1906, Reginald Fessenden made a leap forward. He didn't just send Morse code, he sent a voice this time around. And so on Christmas Eve that year, listeners heard music and words over the air for the very, very first time. Can you beat that? Life-saving waves by the early 1900s. Radio had found a serious purpose, safety at sea. Ships could now communicate across long distances. When the Titanic sank in 1912, have you watched the Titanic? Well, its SOS signals were picked up by nearby ships. Hundreds were saved. That tragedy proved radio wasn't just science, it was also another means of survival. Now, away from that, we moved into the Golden Age. The Golden Age came and changed everything. So by 1920s, radio stations started popping up everywhere across the world. The first commercial broadcast came from KDK in Pittsburgh, announcing election results in 1920.
KDKA of the Westinghouse Electric and Manufacturing Company in East Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania.
Talking about your family, my family, our relatives, our uncles, everybody now started owning one radio set. People gathered around to hear news, sports commentaries, live jazz and comedy and dramas. In Britain, for instance, the BBC set the standard with global broadcasting. But in America, Franklin Delano Roosevelt, the 32nd President of the United States between 1933 to 1945, had this fireside chat, and it brought about comfort during the Great Depression. So that was a program he hosted on radio. Radio became the heartbeat of the home. When the waves of war hit and World War II broke out, radio even became a weapon. Leaders like Sir Winston Leonard Spencer Churchill, the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom between 1940 to 1945 and 1951 to 1955. Roosevelt and Adolf Hitler, the Chancellor of Germany from 1933 to 1945, used it to reach millions, spreading either hope or fear. So you see, radio was either used to comfort or to raise tension. Soldiers in trenches tuned in for news, while families at home clung to broadcast for updates. Shortwave radio sets even carried voices across continents, uniting or dividing nations. Can you now see how powerful the radio is? From being a static thing to becoming a tool of clarity in the 1930s. Another genius, however, stepped in, called Edwin Howard Armstrong. He gave us FM radio with clearer, crisper sound. By the 1950s, FM became the go-to for music, while AM carried talk and news. So we had Radio AM and Radio FM. Portable transistor radios followed, letting young people dance to rock and roll under the stars. Have you ever heard those your uncles talk about how they enjoyed rocks and rolls because we're listening to good music on radio? Now, that's the time. Radio versus TV. Reinvention then came with television. And so by the 1950s and 60s, TV stole the spotlight, but did it really? Anyway, the radio didn't die. It adapted. Stations shifted to music formats, talk shows, and local news. And today we even have some radio stations who run online. DJs became celebrities and the top 40 countdown was born. Radio found its new rhythm, digital disruption. And by the 1980s and the 1990s, radio had new competitors, which were the satellite and internet radio, just like I mentioned. Suddenly, you could tune into stations from around the world and subscribe to satellite services like Sirius XM. And in the 2000s, a new player entered the scene, podcasts. On-demand storytelling brought radio's essence into the digital age. Radio today, even though it's still alive, is evolving fast and forward. Today, you can see that radio hasn't gone anywhere. It is still with us, in our cars, on our phones, and our smart speakers. We now have community radio empowering villages in Africa. That is why when you go to the market, you can still see people having their radios listening while they, attend to customers. Today, we still see that digital streams now reach global audiences, and podcasts, they're just radio's grandchild. That's what I like to call it. It's a proof that the power of voice will never, ever fade. The legacy of radio, from Moscow dots and dashes to presidential speeches and now to breaking news alerts on our phones, radio has shaped how we connect, learn, and entertain ourselves. Today, World Radio Day is celebrated every year on February 13th. It was proclaimed by UNESCO in 2011 and later adopted by the United Nations General Assembly in 2012. It is a day that recognizes the power of radio as a medium of information, education, freedom of expression, and bridging on communication across cultures and generations. This year's theme was World Radio and Climate Change, Radio for Resilience. Till now, especially in areas where it is and always will be the invisible thread that always brings the world together. Well, before I call it a wrap, I like to read a few comments of people who have experienced radio days, because these days it looks like people are more glued to their mobile phones or the TV screen more than the radio. But it doesn't mean radio is dead. Don't get me wrong. It's not dead. Let's quickly take these comments. Okay, so this is from Talking Pictures TV, and it says, the nostalgia of radio days, that's 1987, comedy written by Woody Allen Channel, premieres today by 3:10. So here's just bringing back what was happening in 1987. So it's now a nostalgia, something you have to refresh your memory with. Let us see another one from Kurt Fillion. He says, when you have radio in your blood, it never leaves. I mean, can we doubt that? It's like, I've been a radio girl because my dad raised me using radio. He would always say, in fact, I remember that when I started secondary school, my first gift was a radio. And so I stayed glued to it. So when you have it in your blood, it's always going to be there. Let us see more comments. And this says, when missing your favorite show meant waiting another week. No rewind, no pause, just vibes. When missing your favorite show meant waiting another week. No rewind, no pause, just vibes. Actually, I mean, there were programs that were on radio. We had this radio drama and you could not afford to miss it. It was just nostalgic. You can just feel the pulse, the vibe, the energy that comes with listening to radio. And it was really beautiful. What a time to have been alive. So we have another, and this person says, radio presenters, please stop talking before and after every song. Play the music. Now, here's the thing. A lot of people have radios or had radios those days because they really wanted to enjoy good music. If you wanted to get music, you didn't have to get no cassettes, no CDs. All you needed was a good radio. Tune to your favorite station and you're good for the day. And this person says, I can't deal with the silence because then I think too much. I need a distraction. Drum show. My car radio is so loud that it drowns all my negative thoughts and I don't want that anymore. So people now use radio. When you get into a vehicle and there's no radio playing, how do you feel? Do you feel good? Well, I do not feel good about it. I love my vehicles having radios because I just want to hear the music. And true, like the other person said, I'm not sure I'm the one to have like the many conversation. Just go straight to the point and play the music. Well, that's the much we can take on this edition of Science and Innovation Haitian Idea TV. I hope you enjoyed it. Let us know, what is your favorite memory about the radio? You can either take a picture if you still have a radio in your house or send us a comment. I could read it next time. Let us know, how do you feel about having a radio? How was radio like for you when you grew up? What is it like today? Do you still listen to radio? Are you carried away by your mobile phone? We like to read from you. I like to read from you. We like you to share. Until I come your way next time, stay glued to our channel. My name is Chinatu Oji, signing out.